I think that he's thinking about his own legacy as he looks at his own mortality. And he has always been obsessed with Ukraine. He wants to control Ukraine. When I was ambassador in Ukraine, I thought that what he was doing in Ukraine was enough. Kind of having a low grade hot war in the east of Ukraine, destabilizing the country, assassinations, cyber attacks, disinformation. I thought that was enough for him to kind of destabilize Ukraine, but clearly not. He wants to own Ukraine. And he's made clear he wants to go further as well. And this is a threat, I think, to European security and our security and the international world order. And perhaps we can come back to that later. But I think more broadly, Putin wants to create a world that benefits him, one where might makes right. And that obviously would be a huge problem for the democracies of the world. I think Vladimir Putin is wondering what happened as well. I think there was a serious underestimation on his part of what the Russian military could do. And I think it's that while other militaries in the world, including the Ukrainian military, have reformed from the Soviet doctrine of war, et cetera, the Russians really didn't do that. And they don't have good leadership, as we've seen. They have very poor morale, poor communications. They even are using open cell towers, not encrypted communication, to discuss their battle plans back and forth, which of course means that the Ukrainians can interdict that and know what's going to happen next. So it's really kind of remarkable on a number of different scales. And I would also say that the Russian military has been known for years to be very, very corrupt. And I think that's also part of what we're seeing, that they don't have disciplined troops, but they also have a degraded military equipment because the generals have been taking off the top, probably billions of dollars, and using recruits to build their big dachas and other things like that instead of training them in the art of war. Trump was giving Putin exactly what he wanted. He demeaned allies. He made clear he did not value NATO. And in fact, Trump's closest advisors have said that if Trump had been reelected, he would likely have pulled the United States out of NATO, making it, weak, irrelevant, or perhaps even non-existent. So you don't need to go to war if you're getting everything you want through other means. And I think that's what was happening. And then President Trump was not reelected by the American people. And so I think Vladimir Putin had to try to figure out how is he going to do this, because obviously President Biden has long familiarity with foreign policy, Ukraine and Russia. He knew what the score was, and he was not going to be giving the freebies to Putin the way Trump had done. So I think Putin started looking around, and I think what he underestimated the Ukrainians, but he also underestimated the United States and the West. Diplomats are always optimistic because otherwise you can't do this work. But I think it's the right thing to sit down with the Russians. But I don't think most people see any indications that Putin is ready for a diplomatic negotiated resolution to this war. And what we've seen in the past with the Russians is that they use negotiations as a stalling tactic while they are regrouping, resupplying. We see that convoy around Kyiv that was so stuck and now is in various other places. I mean, it's not moving. And I think military experts are saying that they're regrouping and they're resupplying and even bringing in soldiers from the Russian Far East, which is really, really far away. So why would you do that if you are ready for a negotiated solution? I don't want to leave anybody in any doubt as to how I think this is going to end. Because while I think the Ukrainian people are paying in blood for their freedom, I don't see a situation where Russia can actually completely win in the end. They may dominate militarily, although what we're seeing is the Ukrainian army, fighting back, and in the last day or so, actually, not only defending, but launching offensive operations. I mean, it is really inspiring against a much larger foe. So I think that even if the Russian military can dominate militarily, even if there is, some sort of negotiated ceasefire and quote peace in the end, the Ukrainian people are not going to acquiesce to that. There will be a guerrilla war. and there will be civil disobedience. I would not want to be a Russian soldier going into some cafe. I'd wonder what they were serving me. I wouldn't want to get into a car that was serviced by a Ukrainian mechanic. I mean, it will be long and it will be ugly. And the texts I get from my Ukrainian friends, they understandably want the Russians to pay for this invasion. So in the end, and that could be a while, I think the Ukrainian people will prevail. I think it's important to keep that in mind.